Guys, we need to talk. I have got so much swirling around up here. My mind is going crazy. I've been just all over the place with my thoughts, and I think I'm coming to maybe some little bit of clarity, but I think I'm gonna need your help too. For those of you that may be new here, my name is Catherine, and 6 years ago in 2019, I basically gave up almost all of my worldly belongings. I quit a full-time career and I hit the road full-time. I initially hit the road in a old truck camper, an old Lance truck camper, a 2000 with an old 2002 Chevy Silverado HD Duramax diesel. And then 3 years later, I switched over to this travel trailer you see behind me, which is a Keystone Springdale Mini 1750 RD. It's a 2022. And then for the past year, I've been traveling in just my truck with a camper shell. I had decided that I wanted to downsize and travel lighter, and so for the past year, I've been doing that. Since it's been almost a year that I've been traveling in just the truck, and now just for the last couple of weeks traveling with the travel trailer, I wanted to talk about the pros and cons of each and kind of where my head's at now in terms of the future. I'll just start off by saying that we all evolve over time, and different rigs could be perfect for different points in your life. And so far, I feel like with the truck camper initially, that was perfect for that time in my life. And with the travel trailer for the 3 years after that, that was perfect for that point in my life. I was looking for something larger, more space. And then I completely downsized and went into a very tiny space traveling with my truck with a camper shell, and that has been great so far this year. However, now we're getting into the winter season and it's getting very cold out. So I've gone back to traveling out of my travel trailer for now just to see how I like towing it again, because it's been so long, and what I feel about my trailer now. I thought I'd start off by talking about some of the pros and cons of both camping out of the truck setup and then also the travel trailer. And since I'm sitting here by the travel trailer, let's start with the travel trailer first. I've got a little cheat sheet here. I've made some notes. Let's start off with the pros. Number one pro, it is super comfy, super cozy. When you get to your destination, you set up, it is such a cozy place to live out of and spend time out of. In that trailer, I have almost all of the comforts of home. I've got a bathroom, a shower, a stove. I don't have an oven, but you can kind of work around that. If you watch my last couple of videos, I have ways of working around that with a crock pot or a air fryer, so that it doesn't have. It has a big, luxurious, comfy bed. It has a dinette, a heater, and air conditioning, and it is set up for living fully off-grid. I've got about 620 watts of solar. I've got two 400 amp hour lithium batteries, a 2000 watt inverter. It is just rigged out to the hilt. I initially switched from my truck camper, my old sliding truck camper, to the travel trailer because I felt like I wanted more space. The truck camper at that time was feeling a little too small, a little too cramped for that time in my life. So I upgraded to this travel trailer, which was definitely so much more spacious. I could still stand in it. I could move around in it. I could do yoga in there, which is something that I couldn't do in the little truck camper. I could walk about 3 or 4 feet until I was at the door, and with this, I just had much more space, and that for me was important at the time. I can carry a lot more stuff with this setup. I have a lot of storage compartments, so it can pretty much bring everything I need and more, which that's not necessarily a pro because you end up just carrying more stuff. One of the biggest pros of this setup is shelter from the elements. If there's inclement weather, you can stay so nice and cozy inside. I've been through snowstorms in there. I've been through windstorms. I just camped recently in some very cold, rainy weather, and being able to have shelter from the elements is probably one of the biggest pros of living and camping out of this travel trailer. I was really sick for about 10 days earlier this year, and it was definitely nice to have that happen while I was in the trailer as opposed to my truck camping setup, because it would not be fun to be sick in that really tight, tiny space. I really like that with the travel trailer, I have very minimal setup once I get to camp. It's just rearranging a couple of things inside and you are set up to go. So that is really nice. In the truck, it is a little bit more complicated. There's a few more things that you have to set up outside. So that is definitely a pro of living out of the travel trailer. Now let's move on to the cons. And probably the biggest con is horrible fuel mileage. I just was reminded of that when I was towing it for the first time in over a year, how horrible the fuel mileage is. On the truck, I went anywhere from a horrible little over 8 miles per gallon to a little over about 13 miles per gallon. And it also sucks up the diesel exhaust fluid. My old truck, I didn't have to worry about DEF, but this truck you do. And it sucked it up so quickly. So that is a really big con. There's also a lot more in terms of safety measures that you have to think of before just picking up and going. You can't really just pick up and go. You have to hitch up and go through a checklist of items to make sure that you're hitched up, hooked up correctly, that you're safe to get on the road, and that is a little bit intimidating and a little bit stressful even when you're driving, knowing that you've got this big thing that you're towing behind you. There's just more thought being put into changing lanes and pulling into gas stations, pulling into supermarkets. Where are you going to park? That's a big part of the thought process when you're towing. I've gotten into some hairy situations that I had trouble getting out of with this, not being able to turn around easily. You have to make sure that any road that you go down, you'll be able to turn around if needed. And there's just so much more to think about. You constantly have to monitor your water, your tanks, if they're getting full. You have to find places to dump them, and that's always a bit of an issue. With the truck camping setup, I don't have that. So it makes it a little bit easier. That does come with its own challenges though, and I'll talk about that in just a minute. But if I'm being perfectly honest, after being back in this for just a few weeks now, and actually traveling around with it, I might be feeling like it's too much home for being on the road. I'll talk more about that after we go over some of the pros and the cons of living and traveling out of the truck camping setup. But first, I think we're gonna take a little drive. I have not had anything to eat today, and it's well past noon, and I think that I need to go grab some lunch. So I think that we'll head to another location to go over the pros and the cons of living out of the truck camping setup. I'm not gonna lie, guys, I've got a lot going on right now, and that creates some stress and anxiety for sure. So I'm gonna go ahead and take a little break for my AG1, which is my daily healthy drink habit, which does help to support stress and mood balance. This time of year with the holidays and everything, it's just super busy and hectic anyways, and with everything else I've got going on, it is just a pretty stressful time. That can wreak havoc on your immunity, so it's more important than ever for me to make sure that I take my AG1 daily, which is filled with 75 vitamins, minerals, prebiotics, probiotics, superfoods. So many things that are good for me are in this one drink. Pretty crazy to think that I've been taking AG1 now for 6 years, or about 6 years. It's the only healthy habit that I've maintained for that long. I kid you not. During this time of year, especially, any type of routine that I have can get thrown off. The AG1 helps me stay consistent, at least in taking care of my body every day, which I think is super important. I'm much more productive when I start the day doing something healthy. It's crazy because once you start doing something healthy for your body every single day, it expects that healthy goodness each day. And if you forget to take it, it will tell you, your body will tell you. I can't recommend trying AG1 more highly, and right now AG1 has their best offer ever. If you head to my link in the description box below or scan the QR code here, you will get a welcome kit, this awesome morning person hat, a bottle of D3K2, an AG1 flavor sampler, and you'll get to try their new sleep supplement AGZ for free, which has been a game changer for my nightly routine. That's $126 worth of free gifts for new subscribers, and you cannot beat that, guys. Thank you once again to AG1 for sponsoring this video. Now back to our chat. I took a drive through one of my favorite towns in the world, Lone Pine, California, to go get my favorite sandwich in the world, a Jersey Mike's No. 7, then headed up to my next location. This is what I got for lunch, my favorite No. 7 and a bag of smokehouse barbecue chips, which I'm about to devour because I'm starving. So obviously the truck is not set up for camping out of currently because I've been camping out of my trailer the last couple of weeks. But we'll get into that in just a minute after I'm done annihilating this sandwich because I am so hungry. I've gotten rid of the hangry feeling and I'm feeling much, much better. So let's get on to talking about this bad boy. First pro, it is way better on fuel mileage. I can get anywhere from 15 miles per gallon on the low end up to 29 miles per gallon on the high end in this baby without towing the trailer, which has been awesome. I've been so spoiled with that, and towing the trailer again over these last couple of weeks has really made me realize how spoiled I am with fuel economy without towing. It saves my wallet a lot of money not towing the trailer, to be sure. The next thing would be the ease of traveling, the ease of getting around, parking. I never have to worry about where I'm gonna park. I can fit into regular parking spaces. I can just pick up and go pretty much. It's just a lot less stressful moving around, getting around, and parking. Finding camping too. More camping options are available to me because I don't need to find a space that's going to fit the trailer or that I can get in and out of. This is four-wheel drive. It can pretty much get anywhere that I want to go without the trailer, so it just opens up more opportunities for me. One of the things that I do feel like is a pro is it forces me to spend more time outdoors. If you've been watching over the past year, you've seen that I do all of my cooking outside. I don't cook in the back of the truck. I make my coffee in the morning outside. I pretty much spend the entirety at camp outside. Unless I'm going to bed. I'm pretty much just sleep in the back of the truck, and then everything else is done outside. And I have done a few things to help me deal with inclement weather, which is I do have a tarp that I set up, and then I also have a tent, a large tent that I can go stand in. So yeah, it just forces me to be more at one with nature, and I have really appreciated that. To me, I also like the experience of getting back to basics. It feels more like real camping and not glamping. Being in the trailer, you feel pretty bougie, and out here you have to struggle a little bit more and make do with what you have, make do with less, and that's kind of cool. It kind of goes along with my backpacking mindset where you just carry everything that you need on your back, and less is more. It's just a very minimalistic way of living, and that's kind of cool. I mean, you think about how people came out west back in the 1800s and covered wagons, and they just had to make do with very little, and it just is neat to me to see really how little you need in order to live and get by. This rig here is definitely more stealth. If I needed to stay at a rest stop, which is legal usually to stay overnight at a rest stop, or stay somewhere else like parked on a city street or something like that. I mean, this obviously is more stealth, and I could do that. I have things to block all of the windows, curtains, and everything, so that is a plus, which obviously if you're in a trailer, it's a little bit more difficult to do that. And I really feel like this is an awesome setup when you have great weather. Like on a day like today, it is chilly in the shade and it will be cold overnight, but look how beautiful it is right now. And I would obviously be outside the entire time if I was camping in this spot right now. And speaking of this spot, can anyone tell me where I am? I'm sure a lot of you can. And what prominent mountain peak is behind me in this shot? Go ahead and leave a comment below. In terms of cons of this setup, as you can see, it's teeny tiny. These are tight quarters. So if you're doing anything other than sleeping, it's going to be difficult to do in here. I do change in here at times, but primarily I just sleep and watch movies, stream movies in bed. So it's super tight, and like I said earlier, if you're ill or if you're not feeling well, it's not going to be the most comfortable place to be stuck for days on end. I have a lot less storage with this setup. I do have the roof box on top, and I have my back seat I could utilize. However, I really have to think about what I'm going to bring because I cannot take a whole lot with me in this setup. The back of the truck is pretty much taken up with my living quarters, my bed, so there's really no space for storage back here. So everything else has to fit just in those two spaces, and I can take very little, but that's also can be a good thing. A huge con is you're exposed to the elements. As much as I like being outside, when you have inclement weather or storms, snow, rain, heavy winds, you're gonna be stuck inside. And again, it's a tiny space. Or you're gonna have to sit under a tarp and just rough it out, which if you can have a fire going or something like that, that could be helpful, but otherwise it's not comfortable. It could be just a little bit too much outdoors during those times. Luckily, you can stay warm and dry in here. However, if it goes on for days at a time, it's cramped and it's just not comfortable. And unfortunately, you can't stand back here. So I do carry a large tent, which a lot of you have seen, which I utilize kind of as a closet, an office space, and somewhere to escape the weather at times. But that's just another thing that you have to set up at camp. And it's fairly easy to set up, but pretty soon you've got a tent here, you got your truck, you got tables and an outdoor kitchen. So there is more setup involved than there is when you have a travel trailer. Like I said, you just have to move around a few things inside and you're pretty much ready to go with the travel trailer. There's no shower, there's no bathroom in this. I can carry a camp shower. I do have a tent that I can utilize as a shower, and also I do have a portable plastic toilet, which probably a lot of you have seen. It just unfolds, and I do utilize that. So that's cool, but it's not the same as having a nice cozy bathroom that I do in the shower, which is like a real flushing toilet. So you can make do and you can make it work, which I do, but it is nice to have an actual toilet. I have found that showers haven't been too much of an issue for me because there are showers in most towns. There is a way to get a shower. Sometimes campgrounds have showers you can utilize, so you can just pay to camp someplace and utilize the shower then. Recreation centers, lots of towns have like aquatic centers or places like that that you can utilize the shower, and there's always truck stops as well. So shower has not been a problem while camping out of this setup. And obviously there are just less creature comforts. So if you're someone who really enjoys creature comforts, this is probably not a way for you to camp, but I've really gotten used to it. So it's not been a real big deal to me. Although I'm going to fully admit that I have really enjoyed being back in my trailer for the past couple of weeks and having all of those comforts, and I'm feeling really spoiled. So yeah, it's less comfortable, less creature comforts, but being someone who loves the outdoors and backpacking where you have even less creature comforts, that's not been huge to me. Although during the winter, that could be a game changer. So what am I thinking in terms of the future? Well, after traveling around in this setup for a year and then being back in the travel trailer now for a couple of weeks, I do know that I'm not really interested in towing. I still feel like I do not want to tow. So I am thinking of some sort of a happy medium. And a lot of you have thrown out that I might be going back to a truck camper, or you have a feeling that I might be going back to a truck camper, and that is definitely on the list. Who knew that I'd want to do that eventually? But like I said, you evolve over time and different rigs for different times in your life. However, I think that I would want a pop-up truck camper. I don't want one of the high-profile ones like I had before. It just was big, bulky, heavy. So I want something much lighter, something much more low profile, and I've seen some really nice used ones. The other option would be maybe one of those A-frame trailers, which lays flat while you're towing, but it's hard-sided and it pops up to an A-frame when you get to camp. Those are really cute and cozy and smaller than having to tow a 21-foot travel trailer. I don't know how easy they are to tow, so if any of you have experience with that, I'd love to hear about it. It would still be towing, but I think it would be something that would be much more manageable, even though I just said I didn't want to tow. It is an option that I'm tossing around. And then the third option would be getting some sort of van. So I bought this truck last year, at the end of last year, so I don't think that I would get rid of it. But I could potentially get rid of it. But I'm thinking more along the lines of an older used van that wouldn't cost me too much money, that I could basically outfit the inside or build out the inside to my specifications. And I think that'd be kind of fun to share on the channel if I did something like that. So that is also a thought. But I think that I am seriously considering selling my travel trailer. So if any of you are interested in it, let me know in the comments. But I also want to hear what you guys think in terms of what you would think I would be happy in. I think a lot of you know me well enough to know a little bit about my style and what you think might best suit me. I'd love to hear that. Also, what would you enjoy seeing me camp out of? I know that a lot of you had trouble seeing me camp out of this because it was so small and cramped and you couldn't visualize yourself doing that, so it was hard for you to watch me, and I think some of you thought that I looked like I was struggling. I can tell you that I wasn't, or I wouldn't be doing it, but I can also see how you wouldn't relate as well. I know that a lot of you are saying that you enjoy seeing me back in the travel trailer and you think that I seem more comfortable and cozy, and I think in a way that the pop-up truck camper would be kind of a happy medium, because it would still have a lot of those creature comforts, but it would be in a smaller space and less stressful for me to travel around with. I also really don't know what kind of fuel mileage I would get with a pop-up truck camper, so if any of you have any input on that, I would love to hear that as well, if you have any experience with that. I would imagine it would be better than what I get pulling a travel trailer or a heavy travel trailer, but I really don't know. You all have so many great suggestions. I've learned so much from you, and I've gotten so many great tips from you, so definitely feel free to weigh in. I'm gonna admit, it's definitely been pretty stressful with all of this. I feel like I am at a crossroads. I feel like, although I just absolutely love my truck, I did purchase it to tow the travel trailer, but a lot of things changed and I didn't really need something this beastly, if you will, but I do love it, and I have come to learn to love it, so I would kind of hate to get rid of the truck. I do still owe some on my travel trailer, and at the current payments I'm making, it would still take me a couple of years to pay off, so I would definitely need to sell that if I were to get something else. Anyhow, I hope that you found this useful, and maybe if you were considering one of the two options, maybe that gave you some insight. But I think ultimately it is whatever suits the individual, and it's a very personal decision based on your needs. And your needs are constantly changing, so you may not always want to stick with the same rig. It may change over time, and I've noticed a lot of the other creators that I have followed that live a similar lifestyle have definitely changed rigs over time. I think that's going to wrap up this video. This is going to be going up over Thanksgiving weekend, so I want to wish you all a very happy Thanksgiving. I am grateful and thankful for each and every one of you. You mean the world to me. So many of you have been with me for so many years, and if you're new, welcome. I'm so happy to have you here. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing. I'm very close to a milestone of 120,000 subscribers. I'm about 150 away at the time of the filming of this video. So if you want to help me get there, I'd really appreciate it. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing. And I will see you all on the next adventure, everyone. See you soon. Bye-bye.